Roll.
All right, guys, we're back for the second part of Real Estate Perspective, and we remember the irrefutable fact we built the first class around, right? Which was, Marco, you remember? Remember irrefutable fact number 1?
Real estate.
Facts you cannot refute. Are you moving? Or are you not?
Well, I don't.
I passed the screen quickly so you couldn't see it, Marco. Don't worry.
You're gonna probably have to get over here for me to do that.
So I'll just tell you, Marco. Don't worry. So irrefutable fact number 1 was that real estate is a get-rich business, right?
Yep.
Exciting, get-rich business. It's not a get-rich-quick business, right? And so we set up all that stuff on the front end to get your mindset right. We showed you about the changes we're going to be asking you to make and stuff like that, okay? So what today's class is going to be more about is going to be building it around irrefutable fact number 2, which is that real estate sales are basic, okay? And again, just like the last one, this has a very positive message. It's also a negative in a way. Why is it a good thing that real estate sales are basic?
Because if you do the same activity, you're going to get better results because you're going to get better over time.
Correct. We're not reinventing anything here, right? And anybody that's been with Mike Ferry knows, right? He's going to tell you that the same concepts that have worked forever are going to continue to work, right? And again, remember we talked about a book last week, How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? Book was written in the 20s. Every single concept in the book is the same for today. So that's the good news. Real estate is basic. We can teach you these basics. We can teach you to be good at these skills, right? Remember last week we said that talent is overrated? Well, that's the good news. Now here's the bad news. It's not about knowing a little bit about it. See, that's what most agents want to do, is they just want to learn the bare minimum and go. And they don't want to learn deep. And what we want you to do is not just know the basics, master the basics, right? That's what's going to help you get to the top of your profession, because you are each going to be asked to design a business plan, which means you might be holding open houses, you might be doing expireds, you're not doing expireds. Why would you need to know anything about expired listings and the process it goes into succeeding in that? It's not what you're looking to do your business on. Down the road you want to change that, that's one thing. But we can give you a plan that's sustainable, that's growable year after year after year until you get to that team and beyond, doing the same plan every year. And so why not master those skills, right? That's the idea. Just like an athlete at a certain position isn't going to start practicing a different position. He's going to practice his own to get better at it. So it's about mastering the basics, okay? So, Suzanne, next slide, please.
I went the wrong way. There we go.
Yes. Okay. So, oh, perfect. This is going to be fun. Okay, so we're on page 21, guys. So this is an introduction to that, okay? This is, we've all heard real estate sales is a numbers game, right? So what does that mean to you? Barbara, what does that mean to you? Real estate is a numbers game.
Well, the more contacts, the more relationships you have.
Right? The more phone calls you make, the more of anything, right? That's true, okay? We're going to break that down into specific numbers, and they're on the sheet in front of you, okay? And I don't expect you to know what all of these things are right now. We're going to be going over these in much greater depth. But what we're going to be teaching you today is that we have 28 beliefs that you guys need to espouse, okay? And remember last week we talked about your beliefs, and you do need to have your own, and they do need to, they are going to change the way you think, they're going to shape the way you operate, okay? But there's 28 that we're going to be giving you that you need to have to be successful in real estate, okay? And inside of that, there's 3 models, and the models are what goes into your business plan. Those are the operational model, right? The economic model, the organizational model, okay? Those are the 3 things that comprise a business plan. We went over that last week. Underneath that, you have the 8 functions. There are 8 hats you wear as real estate agents. Okay, we're going to go over that, but they go into the 3 models, okay? Underneath those functions, you have 14 responsibilities, 7 for listings and 7 for buyers, okay? You are responsible for all of that. Whether you're a solo agent or a team, somebody's got to be responsible for all of those things in every deal that you do, okay? Underneath that, we have ancillary arms, 6 of them. Do you know what an ancillary arm is, Barbara?
No idea.
Okay, do you?
No.
People that help support you, your title company,
Correct.
your mortgage company.
The ancillary arms of your business are the people in your business that you can't live without, but they're not necessarily part of your team, right? But they're people that we delegate things to, Okay? They're actually people and systems. We'll go over that. Underneath that, we have our 94 vital activities, right? Inside of the 8 functions and the 14 responsibilities, there are 94 vital activities. Vital means you need to be doing these activities.
Is it
Okay.
94?
There's 94. Correct. Half of those are for buying and half of those are for listing. Okay? And underneath that, we go from 94 vital activities to just 13 dollar productive activities. Right? We need you to be vital first. Once you can be vital, you could be dollar productive all the time, and doesn't that sound good? Right? So underneath that, we have 14 key performance standards. These are the things we're going to be asking you to track. Okay, how do we get better at anything? We need to know where we're struggling. So the performance standards are going to point those things out to us. And under all that, in this numbers game, we can do all of this in 24 hours, right? That's what needs to be done. And so this should seem a little daunting, but it's also a system. It's organized, and we understand that system, so that's what we're bringing to you, okay? So we are going to jump into this. And what does it say on the bottom? It says, to move from typical to world-class, you must separate from the pack. This requires a willingness and ability on your part to outthink, outwork, and out-strategize the competition. And that's what we're doing, okay? We're creating a system, okay? So let's keep going. So, we already talked a little bit about this, but here is the importance of establishing beliefs, and obviously we're going to 28 beliefs. That was the first thing on that page, right? So, what is a belief? What's the definition of a belief, Marco? What's your definition? Or you could just read the answer on the page. Either way.
A habit of the mind.
Habit of the mind, right? We're in agreement with that. That is actually the Webster's definition of what a belief is. A habit of the mind, right? And so, how do we make anything a habit?
Repetition.
By doing it over and over again, right? Whether it's a good habit or a bad habit, right? So, then frequent repetition is the key there, right? So let's see, we have the word belief here, and that's a habit of the mind, and that's going down to the word truth. Okay? So the question becomes, how does a belief, and that's all it starts out as, become a truth? Your truth, not everyone's, but yours. How does a belief become a truth in your own mind? Barbara. I'm looking at you, Barbara.
Nice try.
Kazzy, how's that? Can we go with Kazzy? You want to go with Kazzy?
No.
No, you don't want to go with Kazzy?
My daughter does.
Okay, hey you. What do you
That was
want?
mean.
What do you think? How do you think you take a belief and make it into a truth? Your truth.
By frequent repetition?
Yeah. So simplify that. Put that in
Well,
layman's terms.
if I do it, like, if,
By thinking about it over and
Yeah,
over
if I
and
do
over and
something over and
over, right?
over.
Remember, we talked last week about daily affirmations, the Saturday Night Live, right? That's what he's doing. He's saying it over and over and over again.
Making it an obsession.
You can look at it that way, but yeah, and we talked about obsession last week. Obsession is unhealthy, but you will accomplish whatever you're obsessed about because
yeah.
it's that important to you. And so yeah, how do we turn a belief into a truth? We think about it over and over and over and over again, right? That's why we know that it doesn't matter what political side you're on, you both can't be right. But both people think they're right, don't they?
Yeah.
That's how a belief becomes a truth, right? The state of being a reality. So on the bottom we have these truths about truths, and these are fun, but these are true, okay? So what you frequently think about becomes internalized and accepted as truth. We're in agreement of that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Truths, once they're internalized, will guide the way you think and will guide your behavior, correct? Just like the political example, right? It makes it easy to pick which Chad you're going to check if you have that truth, right? So your beliefs ultimately define your reality and thus your world, okay? And having well-defined beliefs makes it easy to say yes or no, doesn't it? Right? If you really weren't sure, it'd be a lot harder to give an answer, right? But when something's a truth to you, you're sure about it. So it makes your decisions easier. Suzanne, I've lost my moving
I
to the
know.
next slide person. I'm doing
sorry.
it myself.
I'll be
All right.
there. I'm just giving this to her.
No
She
problem.
had no booklet.
Okay, so that brings us to the 28 beliefs. Okay? And the 28 beliefs are the things that we say you guys need to know, need to actually believe, need to be your truths in order for you to operate at your highest level in real estate. And we break these down into 4 categories Okay? And those 4 categories are the ones that are for core entrepreneurial, which means these are business beliefs. Really, these are almost life beliefs. Okay? Then you have the ones that are for overall real estate sales. And then we give you the ones that we have for your listing department, and then ones for your buyer department. So we're not going to go through every one of these, but we're going to go through a handful of them and understand and see if you guys understand why we want you to have these as your beliefs. So let's start with the first one. There is no growth without discomfort. Where have we heard that before? There's a very common saying, right? You hear it all the time in the gym.
Oh, no pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain, right? There's no growth without discomfort, right? If you didn't break a sweat at the gym, you're not growing, right? That's the whole point there. The pain comes from the agony of lifting the weights, of running, of whatever it is, but that's how we improve. And it is the same thing in anything in your life. If you do not get uncomfortable in what you are trying to do, you will not be growing. Which is why you have to embrace the discomfort, right? That's how you know you're doing it right, okay? And so that's why that's very important. There's no growth without discomfort, because we talked about last week, it doesn't matter what profession you're in, there's going to be stuff you don't want to do. Stuff that's going to make you uncomfortable, right? But that's going to be the stuff that really helps get you to the next level. So we want to embrace it. Okay, I live in a world of abundance. Marco, for real estate, for really life, business, why is that important to believe?
Well, you have to be, you have to know that if you do what you're supposed to, what you should, there is money out there to be made. You're not creating wealth, you're just getting the wealth that's out there to go into your pocket.
Okay, I'm going to buy that. Barbara, Kay, do you have another answer?
No.
No? Barbara?
Everybody has the same resources, I mean, so if somebody can do it, you can do it as well.
So, and then why is that important, do you think? And put yourselves in the shoes of an unsuccessful agent. Why would it be important for that person to believe that?
Well, I believe like what you think, the way you think actually happens. So if you keep thinking that you don't have those resources and you don't have that, you know, of course you're right.
100%.
Yeah.
If you go in thinking you're at some disadvantage, or that all the good agents have taken all the business, or anything like that, you are going to stop yourself from really putting yourself out there, and it's almost going to be the excuse you make for yourself, right? That's why if you believe that, if that's your truth, you're not. That's why we want you to believe it. So let's look at the market does not and will not determine my income, right? And again, that's a business belief, so it really doesn't matter what market we're talking about. But the point is, you make the money, right? Not other factors, okay? My only limit is time. Focus is the key to success. My only limit is time. We talked about that one last time, Marco. Why is that very important?
Because there's only so much you can do in a 24-hour day, and you get to the point where you have to realize that you have to be selective with what you do with your time, and at some point you may need help.
Right, but Laura Sanders has the same 24-hour day, right?
Right.
But she accomplishes, at this point at least, a little bit more, doesn't she?
Of course.
So that's the point. The point is we all have the same time. It's what we can accomplish inside that time, and not using the fact that there's not enough hours in the day as an excuse for why we didn't succeed. Okay? Success stems from duplicable processes and systems. Okay? If you've been successful, you might not be able to put a definition on it, but you did something specifically for a specific reason and you did it right.
And you probably did it time and time again.
And you're probably doing it over and over again, exactly. Okay? Now, we want to systemize that even further. And that's what we give you here. We're giving you systems, proven systems, not the only systems, but systems that have worked for people. If you just study them and duplicate them, that's all you really need to do to be successful. But if you study and duplicate your own success, same thing, right? Okay. It's unacceptable for my business to earn $0. But we're also going to find that it's unacceptable for our clients to leave their money on the table with a further belief. You see, those can go both ways, right? And it's unacceptable for my business to earn $0, sure, but here's $1, and so now we're good with that one, right? But not really, so you have to be more specific, okay? So, people have lived before me, right? We're not reinventing the wheel. Real estate sales are basic, right? Okay? It's win-win or no deal. That's probably my favorite, because I believe very strongly that if we forget any scripts you ever learn in any classes anywhere, and you can operate and exude, and it's not just enough to think you are. Your clients have to feel when they work with you that you are operating, that it's a win-win relationship that you're creating, that you are only happy if they get what they need. You don't need the scripts, you'll be successful, I promise you. That's the key to this business. Most of the people don't think you are operating in a win-win relationship. If you can make them feel that way, they're going to want to work with you. Okay? Cost is only an issue in the absence of value. Barbara, you must have had issues with this, right? We all have issues with this. Cost is only an issue in the absence of value. What do I mean there? Relate that to real estate, to your business.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. What do you think?
Basically, if I don't give to my clients the necessary steps, you know, to make them feel like they're valued, you know.
Well, has
They're gonna go
anybody
somewhere else.
ever asked you to reduce your commission?
Absolutely.
Okay, so cost is only an issue. It was an issue for them
Yeah.
in the absence of value. You didn't show them enough value. That's the point, right? So if anybody wants you to reduce your commission, and again, this is not a blanket rule, you can show them all the value in the world, people are still going to want to take advantage, right? But the point is, if everyone cared about the money they spent, everybody in the parking lot back there would be driving the same shitty car, right? The same cheap car. But somewhere along the line, Lexus and Mercedes and all these other brands proved that we have more value. That's why you need to pay more for us. And people are like, yeah, sure, where do I sign up, right? So it's the same thing with real estate agents, right? If you could show, and again, that's the hard part, so don't think I'm making that sound easier than it is, but if you could just prove that you have more value than the next person, they'd rather pay for you, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And actually, Parks Morgan, you know Parks, right? Parks came up with a chart yesterday, and it was really cool, and we'll share this once we have it perfected, but a chart that literally shows, based on MLS data, that if you ask your agent to discount their commission, you will actually profit less from the sale of your home. Does that make sense?
Of course.
That if people take a 5% listing or a 4% listing versus a 6%, the seller makes less money.
And it's a heck of a lot more likely to expire without selling. You look at the expires for any region, and probably 2/3 of them are paying out 2.5% to the buyer's agent.
Right.
I mean, listen, if you go on a listing appointment and another agent's on that listing appointment, right, and you killed it and you don't get the listing, don't be sad. Don't think you need to fix what you're doing. They probably said, I'll do it for 4%, right? That happens all the time. But see, that's why inside of your listing agreement, you make people, or listing presentation, you make people see that listen, you work with me, you're going to get this kind of value, right? I use the fact that if there's 1,000 real estate agents, 950 of them are bad, right? Because those are the ones that are your competition. So utilize that, because people know that too, right? And so if you're taking a 4% listing, you got to ask yourself, how good is this person at negotiating, right? Because he's voluntarily taking less money. But more than that, he's just going to do and say anything to get your listing. That's what he did. Oh yeah, sure, I can sell for that. Yeah, no problem, right? And I'll do it for 4%. Right? In the moment, of course that sounds more attractive than what you're putting on the table. You want to take that listing for 30 grand less and at 6%. But these people are stupid, ignorant. You need to show them that, right? In a nice way. But anyway, that's the point. Cost is only an issue in the absence of value. Well, that is the hard. I mean, it is the hard part. You can't argue with them, but you still have to show them. Okay, real estate sales beliefs. You're going to recognize the first two. Real estate sales is a get-rich business, and real estate sales is basic, right? It's also a task business. What does that mean?
You have a lot of jobs to do.
Actions.
There's a lot of activities, right?
Exactly.
There's not one ongoing project that you're generally doing all day, right? You probably touched 10 different deals every day, right? So what we mean by task business is, and this is a big concept for all the most successful people on this planet, let's raise our hands if we think that we're a good multitasker. Everybody in this room is good at multitasking. Okay, so here's the truth.
I don't believe that.
That's my truth.
Here's the truth.
I gotta finish something. I can't do like a.
Studies have shown this, okay, There's absolutely no such thing as multitasking, right? You cannot multitask. Nobody is good at it. And studies have proven that those who think they're good at multitasking are actually worse than everybody else.
That's
Thank
what I
you.
said, I have to finish something, I can't, like,
Yeah.
if I get interrupted, my husband's great at like doing I can't, I gotta finish what I'm doing, move to the next part.
And you're going to be more successful and get more done because of it. Okay? If you are going to write, you've all been through this, I guarantee you. You started writing an email, right? An email. Thing should take you 10 minutes, shouldn't it? Less? Okay? But then the phone rang, right? The kid cried, something. Many things. And that email ended up taking you 3 hours to write. Does that ever happen?
Yeah.
Okay? So, had you not had any of those other distractions, do you think they'd have still been there 10 minutes later?
No.
Yeah, they would have.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The kid's still crying. You could always call the guy back who called you, right? That other email that popped up, you can answer after, right? And then 2 things magically can be done in 10 minutes as opposed to taking 3 hours to do 1. Doesn't that make sense a little bit? So that's
pretty
the whole
much
point.
do that a lot. I just finished what I'm doing. I just like, I can't do this right now, I gotta finish this. I'm like very good at that.
So that's what we're going to teach you to do, to understand that every activity you do is an activity in and of its own and should be started and completed. Okay? I will not convert 100% of the leads I do not generate. My dad taught me that when I was, probably 11, 12, 13, right?
Yeah.
When I complained to him and I said, Dad, no girls want to go out with me, he says, oh, I can't believe that. Have you asked any? I said, no.
It's a numbers game, my son.
It's a number game. I learned that from the very early age. But it's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, because I'll relate it to real estate. My best friend didn't use me to buy a house, right? Didn't use me. He knew I was a realtor. I had mentioned it. I mean, we go on Facebook, right? But I never begged him to use me. And at the end of the day, he gave me some bullshit excuse that he didn't know I could sell houses in Boca. Right? He's a smart guy. He's a partner at a law firm.
Your best friend?
Right? Exactly.
I'm sorry.
But everybody has a friend.
And
Everybody has and that's the thing, you want to make them your ex-friend, that's fine, but the way I look at it is, that was my fault. I never asked him. Right?
I know.
Yeah, but yes, like,
Everybody's got a story like that, Barbara. Yours just hasn't been written yet.
Yeah, trust me.
Okay?
Too many.
And you will have a friend who knows you're an agent who will call you. I'm not saying that's not going to happen,
Yeah.
but you'll have another friend who you expected to do that who won't.
Yep.
And you can choose to get mad at them, or you can choose, let's just turn this off, or you can choose to understand that you need to go out and ask, right? So that's what that belief's all about. You need to be out there, you need to be asking, you're not assuming they know, you don't want to say I'm bothering people. Go out and ask, you do it nicely, nobody's bothered, or they'll tell you they are, and they're not going to give you business anyway. People will trust and follow only when I can logically and tangibly explain. Does anybody disagree with that? Right? If you can't logically and tangibly explain something, is anybody going to follow it? No. Will they follow it even if you can? Not all the time. That's the point. But that's why within our conversations, within our scripts that we give you, that's what we're trying to help you accomplish, is explaining what your system is to people, showing them why you're different, and because there's an art to that, right? Because people don't want to listen. They're going to have their backup. It's your job to overcome that. And it's unacceptable, there it is, to leave your clients' money on the table, right? Just like I told you, you're allowing them to leave their money on the table by giving into their little tantrum that they want to list the house for more, right? Or they want to discount your commission. You know that. Here's the facts. I now have a spreadsheet you can literally slide across the table to show them that you will make less money this way, and I don't operate that way. I don't care if you want to. I don't.
You know what I just realized? This is a rough draft for a kick-ass listening presentation.
You're probably right. You can utilize any of this information. Do you want to know something? These beliefs, okay? This is part of my lexicon. I literally will be out with friends and I will say some of these things, like cost is only an issue in the absence of value, right? Or what's my favorite one? My favorite one is problems only arise when expectations differ, right? Say that all the time. If your clients don't have an expectation of what to expect in what's going to happen, when something happens, who are they going to blame? right? You. But if you told them right up front that this could happen, well, now it happened and you told me it happened and now you're not to blame, right? It's the situation. So I use that all the time. Okay, now let's look at listing beliefs and buyer beliefs, because instead of going over these one by one, I want you guys to read all 5 listing beliefs, because there is a commonality. Hello. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Do you want to come in and take a seat?
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead and take a minute and read the 5 listing beliefs here, and let's see who can give me what the common theme to them is.
Pricing.
You got it. Pricing, right? Homes sell for 2 reasons, price and exposure. If it's on the MLS, is it exposed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 95% of homes sell on the MLS with a realtor. That means it's as exposed as it's going to get today. Okay? 20 years ago, maybe not. Today, if it's on the MLS, it's completely exposed, which means homes only sell for 1 reason. Price. Exactly. So all the listing beliefs are about price, which means your whole goal when you take a listing should be to get the most appropriate price entry point. And why is that important to be a belief? Why?
Well, repeat your question.
Why is it important to have that as a belief, that it's all about pricing, taking listings?
Because
Because
it
it is.
still gives the best value to the client.
That's right, because that's what you're there to do, right? You're there to sell the home, and the way to sell the home is to price the home right. You're not there, your goal as a real estate listing agent is not to take listings, is it?
No, it's to get the property sold.
It's to sell homes, right? It's different. You can take 100 listings, doesn't mean you sold any of them, right? So that's why it's all about pricing, and you have to believe that, because you've all done listing appointments, which means you've all been challenged about prices. That's where you have to believe it, because if you don't, you will take that overpriced listing, right? Let's see, what's put in motion stays in motion, 22. Have we heard that before in other walks of life? What's put in motion stays in motion.
Yes, of course, when it's in motion.
There you go, so it's apropos. What is that? What famous scientist came up with that?
Oh, Newton.
Newton, right? That's one of Newton's laws, right? An object in motion stays in motion, right? How does that relate to pricing properties then?
Well, if you price a home correctly, you're going to get more showings, you're going to get more interest. If you really price it properly, you may even get competing offers.
Love it. Absolutely correct. So, have we ever been in a situation where we said to our seller, okay, I will list it for $30,000, $40,000 above, but you have to agree that we will lower it?
Yes.
Okay, we will lower it if we don't get showings or we don't get offers. Okay, well, here's why it's important to have that belief, because that, although that is better, because why? Problems only arise when expectations differ. So you set the expectation up that you do want to lower the price, so it's better than not having done that. But that is also not successful, because the truth is, once we start lowering a property, we end up lowering it past the point where, had we just priced it right to begin with, it would have gotten a certain amount of money, or even a bidding war like Marco said. So you let them talk you into that, right? Instead of holding firm to your belief that what's put in motion stays in motion, and then you failed them because it was unacceptable for you to leave their money on the table, and you did that, right? So having these beliefs is going to make you not operate that way, which will make you more successful, okay? Buyer beliefs, read them all. There's another common theme to those. What's the commonality there?
Not all buyers are the same, and you need to have a method to how you operate with them.
Okay, because why? Say that? Who said that?
Because you don't.
You said time? Time is the key, okay? So, what is the risk, right? Where is it? Having a process reduces the risk that comes with buyers. What is the risk that comes with buyers?
Wasting their time.
Oh, big, fat waste of time, right? Because a listing is something we're putting on the MLS, and most of them, 70% of the time, let's say, is gonna sell, right? Unless you have that thing really priced wrong, right? Which is, we're not gonna get back into that. But a buyer who could see one home and put in an offer, and that was the easiest sale you ever made, but I know we've all worked for 6 months. I know most of us have worked for 6 months, taking a guy out day after day after day that never ended up buying anything, right?
Or found a FISBO without you.
Right. Right? So that's the risk that comes with buyers. It's a big waste of your time. So time reveals all. Why you need to believe that is because do you want to find this out today or 6 months down the line? That they're just going to be wasting their time, right? Motivated, qualified, and loyal people buy homes. You absolutely better believe that. Okay, MQL, have you ever heard that from any other coach? Motivated, qualified, and loyal. And the people you work with better be two of those three. Otherwise, you shouldn't be working with them. I would argue 3 of the 3, but they better be at least 2 of those 3. So there's a difference between those things. What does motivated mean? Yes, basically. That if they see a home that they like, they will buy it. That's motivated, right? Qualified.
If they can.
If we can.
Good. Qualified is they either have the money or they've been pre-qualified, right? Have you ever shown a house to somebody who didn't show you whether or not they were qualified?
Yes.
A house, a single house.
You've shown them one
A
house.
single house, yes.
I like your stipulation, you still shouldn't have done it, but it's better than a bunch. Okay, and then loyal. What is loyal?
That you know they're not going to be jumping around from agent to agent, thinking perhaps that someone will be able to show them something.
Or do the thing you said.
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
you got a FISBO.
Go to a FISBO, right? FISBO could have given you a commission, couldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I had the same situation. I actually sold a family friend, right? Sold her house. I sold that house in like 7 days for the full asking price. She couldn't have said I did anything wrong, right? And she was happy to look for her next home with me. We went out like twice. It wasn't like it was a long time. She was seeing things she liked. I got a phone call the next weekend. She said, oh, no, I found a house. Yeah, we're under contract. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I didn't even mean to. I wasn't even driving out seeing homes. I just happened to see it for sale by owner, and so I knocked on the door and loved it, and he said, yeah, make an offer. She didn't know.
But we only have ourselves to blame for that.
Of course,
Not
I didn't tell her.
educating them.
I didn't
Yeah.
set the expectation up, right? If I had, at that point, nobody had taught me buyer conversion boot camp, which literally sits people down before you show them one house and explains why they better be loyal to you, and in the situation of a for sale by owner, that you can help them. And in fact, you're there to save them money. Has anybody seen, I don't know if you've seen, but there's a realtor out there who does a video that shows the reason why a buyer will say, well, I don't want to work with an agent because I feel like I can get that house for less money. If I don't have a buyer's agent, then I'll get the seller to negotiate with me. Well, here's the problem with that. That may or may not be true. So let's say the commission that you're saving is $15,000. Okay? That 3% would be a $15,000 commission, and so in that buyer's mind, then I have 15 grand extra to play with to buy that house, okay? Well, what if the listing agent has that house $50,000 overpriced?